you know, then the sort of localized sense of me, to put it in a metaphor, like, you know, you've got a pain in your elbow or something like that, and it's just there as a kind of a distraction, but it also creates this separate self dimension, because that's got to happen as a sensation within consciousness. This is, you know, and it's possible, that is feasible, but it has to be. I don't know what to say about that. You know, all I'm saying is that strikes me as an issue that shows up. That you've got this, you know, this carbuncle or this when or whatever that's sort of localized, that's within consciousness, and to try to extricate yourself from that seems to me that is a sort of beginning of getting stuck in a dualistic cycle.
You know, for an impression of for a local impression to occur, there has to be an impression of another. So, in other words, this is Annandale, yes? It's a specific location, but it's only Annandale in comparison to Merrifield, to Falls Church, to etc. So the local impression has in it already other locations, and because of these other locations, this location seems to be local. So now imagine that there is a change in government, and now Annandale has been expanded. They changed the county, and now Annandale includes Fairfax, Merrifield, Falls Church, etc. Okay, and it's the year 2082, and you live in Annandale. Your sense of your local sense at that moment, at that time, is much broader. Now imagine that there is another change of government, and now Annandale covers the entire United States. The United States now is called Annandale, and it's the year 3015. And you're here, you say, oh yeah, I feel this sense of local. You know, I live in Annandale, and Russia is coming in on, you know, yeah. So now imagine that the whole entire sense of the whole planet is Annandale. Yeah? So you see, the sense of local, I'm trying to say, is a relative sense. Yes? So yes, from the relative, there are some rules that have already been established. There are already some boundaries that have been established. And because of these boundaries, there is a sense of local, a specific sense of local. So at the local level in your experience, you need to ask yourself, what is the sense of boundary that's been established, you know, in my era? Okay, might be in the year 2085, it'll be different, but now we are here now. What are the local assumptions or the local rules that have been established? This is what you need to ask yourself. So the local rule, I would suggest, is that I am this, I as consciousness, am this body-mind. I am this body-mind, and I am not Fairfax. I am not Vicky's body-mind. I am not Magdi's body-mind. I am not James' body-mind. So I am Annandale. I am not Great Falls. I am not Merrifield. You have to realize that there are these assumptions. Yes? And we take these assumptions very seriously. Absolutely. You know, 22003, that's Annandale. 22047, that's, you know, and on and on and on. It's very real. Yeah? So if you don't examine these assumptions, then the impression of locality remains as if it's real, you see. So when there is a pain in your elbow, your experience that precedes your sense of, this is a local experience that I have, is there is initially there is a non-local experience. There is an impersonal experience. And then your rules and guidelines that this is happening in Anna, they'll kick in. And you go, oh, this is happening to me, this is not happening to Magdi, this is not happening to Tara, this is not happening to Vicky. And the sense of localization is there. And also the sense of me as this body-mind is there as well, the me sense. And so something is happening to me. It's not something arising in consciousness. It's something is happening to me. And then there is, okay, is this a good thing happening to me or a bad thing happening to me? Right? So there are two possibilities. One of the things is that what's happening to you is detrimental to your health, meaning detrimental to the body-mind health. And of course, there is intelligence for us to go see a doctor, to get some rest, to change our diet, to whatever, do whatever, to prolong the life of this dying body, which is, of course, condemned to death from day zero. Not a problem. This is who cares? The other possibility is that, is it detrimental to me? Me as this man, it might hurt my image. You know, oh gee, you know, I'm having white hair. You know, I'm getting some wrinkles. Something's happening to me as not just like that the wrinkles are bad for my body, bad for my image. It's a psychological, you know, then they're not liking me as much as they liked me before. I'm not as popular as I was before, etc. Now that, you try to cure that, good luck. Because the root of all of that and what feeds all of that is the belief that I am a local entity, that consciousness is local and not universal. So you need to be open to the possibility that consciousness is universal and not local. That there is a local impression, but it's that same consciousness that has all these local impressions. In other words, the person in Tripoli who is now roasting the peanuts in the street, it's that same consciousness that is having this experience. Yeah, right? Or in Timbuktu, the person who is now feeding the hungry child and is, you know, trying to feed that hungry child, is that same consciousness that is having a different local experience. What might help you as a metaphor is to see, for example, the current, electric current in the state of Virginia, what is called the grid. You know, the electric grid. It's one electric grid, but yet it's illuminating light bulb down in Reston, Virginia, and it's also illuminating a light bulb way out in Springfield. Yes? In Virginia, in Reston, it might be somebody in the kitchen, you know, cooking some soup, and in Springfield might be some mechanic who's trying to change the brakes on needs light to do that. It's the same grid. It's one grid. You have to be open to that possibility.
It's kind of realization is the big picture, because I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but just trying to hear what I'm hearing. That you're not really talking about any doing here at all. You're just saying, be open to realization.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Yes.
That's a great way to say it.
Yes. Be open. Right. So it's a form of relaxation around your belief structures. Just to be open to possibility.
Loosens them up.
Huh? Listen up. Yes. Yes. Let's remain open to the possibility that this consciousness is not a personal. There is a local impression, but it's that same consciousness that one consciousness that is having local, like right here, right now, that one consciousness, there is this perception, Vicky has a different perception, Jack a different perception, but etc. But it's this one consciousness, see? And there is a thought that says, oh no, my consciousness is different from your consciousness, you see? That thought arises as just a thought in consciousness. And a thought is perceived, yes? You perceive that thought, because if you do not perceive the thought that says, my consciousness is different from Vicky's consciousness, you wouldn't even express it. You wouldn't even know it. So you perceive that thought, right? That thought that says, I am different from you, right? That thought arises. I am different. I am me and you are you. Now, if thought is perceived, what is perceived? What is perceived cannot know anything about what perceives it. Like a tree, you perceive the tree, yes? You know a lot of things about the tree. It's an oak tree. It's a large oak tree. It has some green, what is it called?
Leaves?
Huh?
Leaves?
No, that stuff on the trunk. Moss. It has a green moss on it, etc. But the tree knows nothing about you. What is perceived is known by the perceiver, but cannot express anything about what knows it, but what perceives it. So the mind refers to phenomenal events, meaning to perceptions, sensations, and thoughts. They cannot know anything about what perceives them. So a thought that says, I am I am whatever it says, this is a lie. It's like a tree saying, you are an elm tree. You know, first, a tree will never say that, because a tree is just perceived. So what is it that says, you know, I am a man or a woman? What truly says that is consciousness. There's only one reality. So consciousness is playing games with itself. It chooses to forget itself. It chooses to say, well, you know what? God, I'm bored being conscious. Let's play, I'm going to be Magdi and not Billy. You see? Mm-hmm. But all along, consciousness is consciousness. Meaning all along, consciousness is universal. It's universal.
It helps me understand why lately I've been, you know, talking to other spiritual people and stuff. And some spiritual people think they're more spiritual than other spiritual people. And it makes me realize why I think nobody is any more spiritual than anybody else, because it's all consciousness.
Absolutely.
Everybody, no matter how they behave, is equally
It's not like that.
spiritual.
It's not like that. There are no bodies.
Even that, yeah.
It's not that all bodies are equally spiritual. Bodies arise as perceptions, sensations, and thoughts. When you say somebody, you're referring to possibly a thought experience that you're having, perception that you're having, or a sensation that you're having. For example, if you think of your friend Bill, yes, as somebody else, as somebody, right? What you're actually referring to is your thought, or your memory, or your perception, or your sensation of that you refer to as Bill. To really contemplate what I'm saying. Yeah. Don't just hear it like on the surface, you have to take it in. You're always experiencing your experience. Consciousness never leaves itself. There's one reality not multiple realities. So you could consider, for example, what you consider to be people. I think somebody, maybe Jeff was mentioning that as a puppets, or maybe you were mentioning that, I don't know. Imagine that there are puppets, there is a stage, and there are 100 puppets, and there is a puppeteer. And these puppets are, he loves her, and the other fellow loves her too, and they're fighting, and, he buys her a ring, and he goes out and buys her a car, whatever, But there is one puppeteer that's playing all these. You can consider what you will refer to as people, as consciousness playing this game, yeah. So when you say there is nobody more enlightened than anybody, you're referring to the characters, the people in the cast. If you want to use the term enlightenment, it only refers to the puppeteer, because the puppeteer is only reality. You see?
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't even really understand why I felt that way, but you saying that everything is the puppeteer helps me understand why I feel that way. I mean,
Yes.
I didn't really even word it.
Yes.
It's just kind
Yes. Mm-hmm. So enlightenment is a peak. It's against all consciousness. Yeah, it's all consciousness. So it's sort of the hide and seek game. The consciousness is playing, and then at some point, consciousness reveals. It sort of pulls the curtain, and you see this magnificence, the kingdom. You see the magnificence of consciousness. You go, oh, wow, and then it closes the curtain. That's enlightenment. Enlightenment is a full glimpse into the glory of God. You see God, and it closes the curtain, and you go back to being a person. Yeah, but something has changed.
So, just make sure I understand it. So, for example, I seem to recall in Be Here Now, there was a whole design of human events going on, and all being seen with great compassion, as it was described. And then there are the puppets, and then there's the great compassion that beholds it all. But these puppets are sort of individuated. But what you're saying is that the consciousness it's not a different puppet master for me than.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah, that's
It's
a
one puppet master. Yes.
So I don't have to tell you that that's not traditional Western thought.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to just also, this is a metaphor, and all metaphors have their limitations. I want to add something to that metaphor. So in the metaphor, a more correct way of sort of adding a little bit to the metaphor. So the puppeteer is also a magician, yeah. So the puppeteer doesn't have like strings, those sticks and strings and little, wooden characters or whatever. Instead, the puppeteer, out of himself or herself, they sort of pull out of themselves, so it's out of themselves that these characters are appearing. Yes? Mm-hmm. So this experience is God experiencing himself. It's not like there are.
It's not separate.
It's not separate. There aren't like yes. It's just I just wanted to add that. So you're dreaming. You that is having this experience of me as a local level, as I am this puppet, this little character in the I am made out of God. I am a God. You see, that's the beauty of it, and we all are. But we're not separate from God. It's not like we are separate. We're that magician that has sort of created that scene and all these experiences out of himself, out of herself.
So divinity in the most humble individuation.
Yes. Yes. divinity in individuation. Now, at its best, the individuation is saying, God, I love you. This is great. At its worst, it's saying, I gotta beat you. I gotta, oh, Betty's getting more money than me. And she's a woman. And I'm gonna figure a way I'm gonna figure a way of beating her at the game. Yes, that's at its worst. Yeah, but it's all the spectrum of God. So you could say, again, metaphors. You could say that it's a journey from God to God, from your darkest to your brightest. From the darkness to the light. From darkness to the light. God is the light. And whenever we look away from God, we're looking in the darkness. Yes? It's just turning our back. That's all we're doing. Turning our back, and suddenly there's a shadow. Yeah? And then we turn our gaze back to God, and we are in the light. We don't go anywhere.
Another thing with the puppet is the difference between the puppet and our game is we have this supposed mind that thinks we're individuals in charge of everything.
Yeah, it's
the belief, the mind belief is what creates the whole.
But all of it is God's dream.
Yeah.
All of it is God's dream. There is no personal thought.
No, but that's what makes it so intense is the fact that the puppets all think that they're actually people.
Yeah, right. The whole.
And they all think they're separate people with separate minds.
Yes.
And separate thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. No. Right.
Very persistent illusion.
What?
Very persistent illusion.
Yeah, very persistent.
Well, it's the ticket to